Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
They tried to assassinate him. We're going to be having an interview with a former Knesset member who had an assassination attempt against him. He is also a Jewish activist, always trying to get equal rights for Jews to be able to worship on the Temple Mount, just as the Muslims are granted. He has a very interesting life story, and we're going to be speaking to him to find out what are his aspirations. How did he become a Jewish activist, and why did someone try to kill him and almost succeeded, by the way? They shot him, and it was not a pretty picture. We're going to find out all about this on the show today. I want to remind you also that Israel News Talk Radio, as of this last week, has added 2 new live shows to its lineup, and they're both concentrating on Aliyah. One is called Returning Home. That is with Natalie Sapinski, and she had, a wowzer of a show. If you missed her show, do me a favor. Go to our website at israelnewstalkradio.com. Go to our menu bar that goes across the top of the page and look for, under our show hosts, look for Natalie Sapinski, or your show host, actually, Natalie Sapinski. It's near the bottom. Click on that and listen to her first debut show. You are going to be riveted in what she is saying. Absolutely riveted, and just a home run of a show. I really have to just tell you that. I'm so happy that she's joined us and that she's going to be doing an Aliyah show here on Israel News Talk Radio. And our newest show, also, Israel Unplugged, that debuted yesterday with Josh Haston and his co-host, and also another winner. That show is going to be a very spicy show also. They're going to be debating people. They're going to be bringing people on the air. Again, both of these shows are call-in shows, and you can bring up your doubts. Why should you make Aliyah? What about jobs? What about this? They'll answer you, and they may not be so PC about it. They're very, very strong about moving to Israel, and they don't take the niceties that other people take. It's going to be a very stimulating show. They're nice people, of course, right? But anyway, amazing. We'll be right back.
G'day, I'm Jono Vandor.
And I'm Ross Nichols.
Join us on our program, Israel on My Mind, a show that broadcasts all the weekly goodness that flows like milk and honey from the Holy Land straight into your ears with humorous and happy news stories.
New shows are posted every Thursday at 7 p.m. Israel time, highlighting the lighter side and advancing a positive view of Israel here on Israel News Talk Radio.
Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Did you know this psalm and many others were composed by a Jewish shepherd and musician who later became a king? Would you like to know some of the inner meanings of psalms to help you connect with God and strengthen your soul? An exciting and easy-to-read book is now available which will help you do just that. Software for the Soul, Psalms for Everyone, available on Kindle, Audible, and Amazon.com. Software for the Soul.
Modesty at the beach? It isn't just about body image, it's about feeling good. Modest swimsuits, so we don't get burned by the sun.
So we won't get ogled by strangers.
So we'll feel free to express ourselves without the need to expose ourselves.
Let Marcy Modest help you to cover up what you want, how you want.
Made in Israel. Visit marcymodest.com. That's MARSEA modest.com.
And get a 10% discount on your first purchase.
2 new shows on Israel News Talk Radio.
The return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel was prophesied in the Bible thousands of years ago and is coming true today. Shalom. Join me, Josh Wander, on Israel Unplugged. Listen in as we delve into the spiritual and physical aspects of the Jewish return to Zion. We'll discuss the biblically mandated, historic, and of course practical understandings of this incredible transition from exile to redemption. That's Israel Unplugged, every Monday on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com.
How did a nice Jewish girl from Delaware end up living in Israel? Shalom, I'm Natalie Sapinski. Join me on my show, Returning Home. Meet different people who have moved to Israel. Hear their personal stories, their highs, their lows, and everything in between. Each week, we talk to experts on immigration and the process of moving to Israel. Listen to Returning Home every Thursday, only on Israel News Talk Radio.
Well, this person that we're going to be speaking to today is going to be sharing his story with us. Just fascinating what happened with him. He is a Jewish activist. He was a former member of Knesset, and there was an assassination attempt on his life. What was that all about? What is he fighting for? How do we learn to be more useful in our lives like he is with his? So with no further ado, let us introduce our guest. We're going to be speaking with Yehuda Glick. He's an American-born Israeli Orthodox rabbi and former member of Knesset in the Likud party. He's the president of the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation, which campaigns for expanding Jewish access to the Temple Mount. And he has a very interesting story, and I'm very, very excited to have him on. Welcome to the show, Yehuda Glick. Yehuda, do we have you on?
Hello?
Shalom, Yehuda, how are you?
Okay, good morning. How are you?
Okay, so I hear that you are on the scene somewhere. Can you tell us where you are?
I'm right now at the entrance of the Old City, and I'm on my way to the Temple Mount.
Okay, and do you go there every morning?
What?
Do you go there?
I go every morning, yes.
Okay, so we're going to hope that as you're going to the Temple Mount, which is a very controversial place that Jews go to, especially when it comes to the police and people being intolerant of Jews praying there, we hope that you do not get arrested during this show, okay? All right.
I'm okay, but for some reason I'm right now being stopped here by a policeman. I don't understand exactly why, but here I am. I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue. Yeah, I'm with you right now.
Okay, all right. So we're going to, you'll tell the policeman that you're live on the air, all right, on a radio show. Hopefully that he'll let you go. Yehuda, I need you to talk to us if you can. Oh, okay, so we lost him. All right, so there you go. This is a perfect example of Jews trying to go up to the holiest place in the world, and that is, of course, the Temple Mount. A lot of people believe that the Western Wall, the Kotel, some people call it the Wailing Wall, is the holiest place for the Jewish people. However, this is not true. The holiest place for the Jewish people is the Temple Mount. Now, the reason that they call the Western Wall the Wailing Wall, or they used to call it that, is because Jews used to go there and cry. That's the word wail. To wail is to cry. W-A-I-L. The Wailing Wall. They cried there because we were crying over our Nakba. Do you know what a Nakba is? The Arabs use that term to describe the coming up of the establishment of the State of Israel, of the modern State of Israel. They call it their catastrophe. It's their national catastrophe. And their Nakba is not a Nakba, of course, because what they like to politically term as their catastrophe has brought prosperity, longer life, education, a more comfortable life, a more free life for their people, their families. But the real people who have experienced a Nakba are the Jewish people. the catastrophe that our holy temple in Jerusalem was destroyed. And that's why the Jews would go to the Western Wall, which was the only surviving wall after the destruction of the temple. It was the only wall that still stood. And so that's where Jews would go to gather, because there was nothing left after they destroyed the temple. And we cried there at the destruction of our holy temple, where God's Shekhinah, or his, I don't know how to say that in English, not his presence, but I'm forgetting my English, but God would, of course, God is everywhere, but an essence of God would dwell in the holy temple. And the world was blessed through the holy temple. The Jewish people were blessed through the holy temple. And when we lost this, we felt far, far away from God, and we also lost our country. It was taken over, it was occupied, first by the Babylonians, and then by the Romans, when the Romans totally destroyed everything. And then on the ruins of that, the conquerors eventually built their church, and then that was conquered, and they built the mosque that you have there, that is now sitting on that mount where our holy temple stood. And this is where the Muslims go to pray, and they are extremely intolerant and do not let anyone else pray there, not Christians, not Jews, not anyone, only Muslims. It's apartheid. If you want to know if apartheid still exists in the world, it exists in the Arab countries, in the Muslim countries, and especially in Israel on the Temple Mount, where even though, according to the Supreme Court, Jews are allowed to go and pray, it is a civil right here. It is a lawful right here for everybody to go and pray there. The police do not enforce it. In fact, they enforce the opposite because they are afraid. They won't tell you this, but the truth is they're afraid that the Arabs are going to riot. And they don't want a riot. So they say, in the interest of public safety and peace, we're not going to allow Jews to pray there. It's offensive to the Muslims. And this is where our guest is right now, Yehuda Glick, being stopped by the police. Perhaps he had his phone taken away, or he had to hang up. I don't know what the situation is. We're going to try to get him back in the next segment. But in the meantime, I want to give you a background of what he is doing now. Yehuda Glick goes, as he said, almost every morning to the Temple Mount. He is a Jewish activist, and he is there trying to promote the rights of the Jewish people to be able to pray in the holiest place in the world for us. And for the world, by the way, but for us especially. In fact, the Muslims who are praying up on the Temple Mount are so disrespectful in the sense that when they bow down and are kneeling down on the ground and praying to Allah, they put their rear ends to the direction of the mosque that they pray at. And they face Mecca, because Mecca is the most holiest place for the Muslims. And if you go to the Temple Mount, you will even see kids playing soccer, Arab children running around, kicking balls, playing soccer on the most holiest place in the world. So this is the situation that we're in. And it has to be changed. And this is why we have people like Yehuda Glick and Michael Miller. And Michael, I hope you're listening to this show, where they go, and other people who are dedicated and who have the ability to go up to the Temple Mount and visit it and make a Jewish presence there and try to pray there. Try to bring up the spirituality of the place after you have people who are desecrating the place with their prayers, where they put their behinds to where the temple stood and play soccer there. They sit down and they eat around there, throwing their garbage, whatever it is. In fact, did you know that when the Jewish people liberated the old city in 1967 under Jordanian occupation. When they got to the Kotel, it was strewn, the area there, with garbage. It was, even the mosque there was in a decrepit state. That's how much they value that area, that they let their own mosque be in a decrepit state. Only since Israel has been there, has liberated it, and has brought freedom and prosperity where everybody should be able to worship and to go freely, only then the mosque started to look nicer. Because when the real owners come, all of a sudden the squatters there try to make their ownership known. Oh, no, we own it. Look. And then they start to clean things up, make things nicer in their mosque. I would not be surprised. I don't have the history. Maybe our guest can tell us if Israel even helped them repair and clean up the mosque. But if you see pictures of the mosque area on the Temple Mount before 1967, you're going to see weeds growing out of the cracks of the ground there. You're going to see a place that doesn't look like it is any holy place for anybody. But this is a fight for truth, and we're coming upon now the 9 days that are going to be starting Tuesday night. And this is where the Jewish people are in a very heavy state of mourning for our Nakba, for our catastrophe. We have lost the Holy Temple. This is a national tragedy. And until we get our Holy Temple back, the whole world is suffering from it, where we don't have peace, where we don't have tolerance, where we don't have more godliness in the world and love and respect. Anyway, we're going to try to get our guest back in the second part of the show during the break. Stay with us. Feel free to call into the show. We are live if you're listening on Tuesday morning here in Israel or late Monday night in the U.S. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, this is Andrea Simonto from Jerusalem, inviting you to drop everything and join me on my show, Pull Up a Chair. We'll visit this week's quirky stories, meet fabulous guests, and discover my Israel. Together we'll laugh, shout, and explain the topics that make us say, hey, we've got to talk about that. So get comfortable and pull up a chair with me, Andrea Simonto, every Thursday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Hidden treasures in the Hebrew Bible?
Then join me, Rav Yitzhak Michelson,
and me, William Hall,
on the Science of Kabbalah, where we are seeking to narrow the gap between what we understand of our physical and spiritual worlds. So make sure to tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Israel time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Israel News Talk Radio.
All right, we are back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, and we're speaking with Yehuda Glick. Again, he's an American-born Israeli Orthodox rabbi and former member of Knesset from the Likud Party, and he is a Jewish activist who campaigns for the expanding Jewish access to the Temple Mount. Welcome back to the show, Yehuda.
Shalom, Tamar, and good morning from Israel, from Jerusalem, to all people listening right now.
All right, so we were cut off in the last segment because you had an altercation with a policeman. What happened?
Unfortunately, this issue that the Jerusalem Old City Police are always trying to refer to me as a nuisance and to try to keep me away from Temple Mount. And every single time they find a different excuse. And now they claim that I was playing with my phone while I was driving, which has nothing to do with any reality. They know I wasn't. I'm talking to you right now. I have an earphone in my ear. I don't touch the phone. Both my hands were on the steering wheel. But there's this issue every single time I come here to the old city. The policemen here have an order to find an excuse to try to arrest me and to try to cause me to stop coming to Temple Mount. There's no way I'm going to do that. I'm going to continue coming to the Temple Mount because it's not for me. It's representing the entire world. We have a battle here for freedom of right to worship God in the holiest place in the world, and we're going to continue leading this issue. And we in the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation at shalomjerusalem.org, we are committed to turning the Temple Mount into a world center of peace, a world center of prayer, a world center of Torah, and that's exactly what we're going to do, and nothing is going to stop us from that.
All right. Well, you are determined, and thank God we have people determined like you. Can you share with our listeners other ways that the police harass you in order not to go up to the Temple Mount?
Yeah, I've been arrested already on Temple Mount for walking too slow, for walking too fast, for standing here, for standing there. It's always an issue. The police are trying to get Jews and all non-Muslims to go onto the Temple Mount. They're doing everything they can possibly do. But the concept is that the Temple Mount it was until a few years ago a place of harassment and incitement against Jews, and we decided to put a stop to that. And we've been encouraging people to come to Temple Mount, to pray on Temple Mount, to show presence peacefully, quietly, in a way that shows that we are Bible people, Bible believers, and that we know that the Temple Mount is the house of prayer for all nations. Unfortunately, in this issue, the police are serving the radical Islamic approach that doesn't want Jews, doesn't want Christians on Temple Mount. And we're going to continue, as I said, with exactly for the sake. I opened the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation because it's impossible to allow the Temple Mount, which is holy to all believers in the Bible, only in the hands of one radical group.
Yehuda, you weren't always like this. You were born in America. You were, I assume, you were raised there as well. When did you get this Zionist Israel religious bug in you, and what made you make Aliyah to Israel?
Look, I made Aliyah as a child when I was 9 years old, but my parents, my family, we made Aliyah because we believe that what we're seeing right now is a biblical era. The Jewish people are coming back home to their homeland, and we're bringing redemption to the world. And in these times, just like the establishment of the State of Israel was an issue that we try to look at it in biblical lens, so too the return to the Temple Mount, and the fact that the Temple Mount, which is supposed to be a world center of peace, was for many years a world center of terror, of speeches, of preaching, calling to kill Jews. We decided we can't allow that, and we can't allow that. And I established the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation at shalomjerusalem.org, and exactly for the sake to show the world that the Temple Mount has to be a world center of peace. I believe that is that's our mission. That's our assignment in this generation, to try to turn the Temple Mount into a place which is peaceful and allow Torah.
Yehuda, were your parents also active in Jewish causes, or you became a Jewish activist on your own?
I've been active here for several years, and my parents were active in bringing us Aliyah, and my parents were active in human rights. And my father was established the Beersheba Medical School, and we're part of building Israel and building Jerusalem, and that's what we're all for.
Now, there are people who actually hate you, and in fact, there was an assassination attempt against you where you were shot and you could have died. Can you tell us about that and what happened?
Yeah, I've been attacked several times. I was 5 years ago, there was an attempt to assassinate me. Just a month ago, I was beaten up in Jerusalem by a few Arabs. Well, when you go into public activity, you know that you're risking yourself, and you're welcome to be attacked. by everybody, and that's life. Of course, I'm not looking for danger, and I'm not looking for risk. But it's much easier to sit in your living room and watch TV. But when you want to change the world and you want to make this world a much better world to live in, and that's what you do. That's what we do. And that's exactly what we're going to continue doing.
So
we're going to continue building up this country. And
so, Yehuda, if you've been attacked before, and you say that this is not the first time that you had an assassination attempt against you, and that you were beaten, etc., don't you go with other people, with bodyguards that can protect you?
We go with bodyguards, and whenever I can. But you can't walk around 24 hours a day with bodyguards. And so when I was a member of Knesset until a year ago, I had a bodyguard. But right now, I try to protect myself. I try to be careful, whatever I do. But sometimes, when people are out to get you, they're out to get you. But look, Hashem's protected me. He's continuing to protect me. And we are here to those of you, if you read the Bible, you see that I'm not comparing myself, but you see from King David through Jeremiah, through Amos, people who are trying to promote God's way in the world have to know that life is not going to be simple. And I said again, we're now in this period of time, the year that we mark the mourning of the temple, and it's our job to not only mourn, but also to do whatever we can to rebuild the temple, to make this world a better place to live in. And
Yehuda,
that's what we're doing.
Let me ask you this question. When your assassin came to kill you, he came on a motorcycle by you, and he asked you if you were Yehuda Glick, and you answered yes?
He came over to me and he said to me, "You're an enemy of El-Aqsa. I'm sorry," and he shot me 4 bullets.
And what was going through your mind when you were shot?
What was going through my mind is that I was praying that for my children, for myself, and that I said to Hashem that if He protects me, then I will continue giving my life for Jerusalem and for peace in the world and for His for Him. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. That's what I'm doing. And God gave me my life back. I believe that that's a present from Hashem because He wanted me to continue this mission. He thinks this mission has to continue. That's exactly what we're doing.
What did they do to the assassin, to this Arab guy who tried to kill you?
The assassin, he was actually that night. The Israeli authorities came to arrest him, and he tried to shoot at them also as well, and he was killed that night. So thank God he's dead and I'm alive. And the word of Hashem in Jerusalem is continuing. And until this very day, as I said before, I'm very active in the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation, shalomjerusalem.org, connecting people from all over the world. As a matter of fact, in a few minutes, I'm going to be going to Temple Mount. I'm going to broadcast it live on my Facebook Messenger. And many people every single day from Philippines to Pakistan, Dubai, Indonesia, people follow us, and we recite prayer for the peace of the world, and especially these days when we're, as I said, mourning the destruction of the temple and the hatred between people.
Yehuda, I want to say that I want to tell our listeners that you are a widower. Your wife passed away. I understand that you're engaged, or you may have remarried already.
I remarried. I remarried today, and I'm married already a year.
And how does your wife feel about you endangering yourself every morning?
I'm not endangering myself every morning. I try to be careful. It's not that I don't want to get the impression if I'm somebody who's looking for trouble, and I'm far from that. And I'm doing whatever I can in my ability to.
And is she for what you're doing?
Careful.
Does she support you in what you're doing?
Yes, she supports. Just like my wife is involved in her issues. She's promoting the Israeli organization for widows and orphans. And we both understand that our job in this world is not to sit without doing anything, but our job in this world is to try to make this world a better world to live in.
All right, hold it right there. We're going to another break, and we're going to be back for our last segment with Yehuda Glick, former Knesset member and Jewish activist. We'll be right back.
Leap of Faith with Penina Taylor.
We live in the age of information, but not inspiration. If you're like me, you're looking to be inspired to reach higher, to connect more, and to grow. Well, if you want to get warm, you need to stand close to the fire. And if you want to catch fire, you need to stand close enough to get hit by the sparks. Join me, Penina Taylor, as we walk with people who have embarked on a spiritual journey towards Torah. We'll uncover what started them on their journey and what truths they discovered along the way. So prepare to be inspired as we take a leap of faith every Sunday at 5 p.m. on Israel News Talk Radio.
All right, we are back here at the Tamar Yonah Show on IsraelNewsTalkRadio.com, and our guest is Yehuda Glick. He is a former Knesset member, and he is a Temple Mount activist. He's a Jewish activist. He's very motivated ideologically in order to make sure that Jews are free and have the right to be able to worship on the Temple Mount, as well as all people. And he has actually risked his life and risks his life every morning. He's going to belittle it and say, no, it's no big deal. But this is actually what's happened. He said that he's already had an assassination attempt. He was shot 4 times by an Arab who wanted to kill him. He has been beaten up on the Temple Mount. He's being harassed by the police on the Temple Mount. This is extreme dedication, and we need people like him to do these things. So I want to gear away just a moment from your Jewish activism on the Temple Mount and look at your Jewish activism in the Knesset, because you were a Knesset member in the Likud. And I want to ask you about that. When you were in the Knesset, what was the most surprising thing that you discovered being a Knesset member?
Many people think that politicians are involved only with the personal interests. And I must say that the cooperation I had on several issues, one of the most important ones was all the anti-smoking activities, where we managed to develop cooperation with people from all different parties, Arab parties, left, right, etc. And that was something that was very, very exciting for me, I must say.
So you were able to work with other Knesset members, even though they weren't from your same political party or even from your same political perspective.
For sure, that's for sure. And the other thing, the ability to reach worldwide from the Knesset was very, very exciting. I mean, I met with groups from all over the world, from left and from right, Orthodox, conservative, Reform, Jewish, Muslim, Christian. We had a Bible caucus working from the Knesset. It was very exciting to see how you can make connections. You can, if you look at people, I would say, on the level of the eye and not with judgment, you can actually see that there's a lot of human, every single person has many, many humanitarian sides.
How did you get along with some of the Arab Party members like Ahmed Tibi?
Look, it's not very simple to get along with people who are against the very existing of the state of Israel. But when you have to cooperate to promote things that are important, you cooperate with everybody you can. So you put aside things that you have a bitter disagreement with, and you work together on issues that you believe in.
Do you have any regrets about your time being a Knesset member?
No, I think it was a great privilege. I think it was a great opportunity. But once again, you have to remember that it's not a goal. It's a tool. It's an instrument to worship Hashem and to try to. And that's. I never had any political ambitions. I was just there to promote, try to turn the world into a better place.
How did you get along with the Prime Minister? Did you ever sit with him?
Yeah, I sat with him several times. There were several issues that we agreed upon. Several issues we didn't. I mean, it was working. I tried as much as I can to concentrate on the issues and not on the people as people. And that was my goal. That was what I tried to do, and I hope I succeeded.
And being new in the Knesset and also having your ideological views and your Jewish activism, do you feel that you were treated well and taken seriously, or do you think that they pushed you off to the side like they treated Rabbi Meir Kahana?
I was treated usually well, I must say. I mean, I don't think people who mistreated me. I mean, that's the way in regular politics. I think we did whatever we can.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any future ambitions to go back and serve in the Knesset?
No, my ambition is to serve Hashem. Wherever He puts me, that's where I'll be.
Are you still a member of the Likud Party? Is there a chance that you could be?
Yes, I'm still a member of the Likud Party.
So there's a chance that you could get back into the Knesset if the Likud gets more seats.
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
And would you like that?
Wherever Hashem puts me, that's what I'm going to do. As I said, I'm working today outside the Knesset. I'll be happy to work in the Knesset.
All right, and okay, so we lost contact with Yehuda Glick. He's on his way, by the way. While we were speaking with him, he was on his way to the Temple Mount. He's soon going to be doing, just a second. Yes. He's still going to be doing a live broadcast on Facebook at around 8 a.m. Israel time. And you're invited to go and follow him on Facebook as well. And by the way, if you want to go to his website, you can do so at shalomjerusalem.org. Very easy, shalomjerusalem.org. And you can follow him there as well and find out all the things that he's doing. We're going to try to get him back on the phone if we can. However, if he got to a place where the police are, again, when you're walking in the old city and you're trying to get onto the Temple Mount, there are lines there. The police check you. You go through a police check, and you are going through a metal detector to make sure that no knives, no guns, etc. up there. And there's certain restrictions of going up to the Temple Mount. Okay, it looks like we lost Yehuda, so we have the last 5 minutes together. If anybody wants to call in, you're welcome to do so. Our numbers are on our homepage at israelnewstalkradio.com. And I want to say here also that if you have feedback on our shows, our different shows, I know that our show hosts would love to hear from you. You can write us at info@israelnewstalkradio.com. That's INFO, info@israelnewstalkradio.com. And just tell us which show host you'd like your email to go to, and we will happily forward your email to them. You can make suggestions or requests of who they should bring on their show or what topics they should talk about. And again, you can also call into our live shows. And I want to say hi right now to everybody who's listening in from all over the world. It's wonderful to see you here from all over Canada, the United States. Let's just go look through Texas and going through just New York, Missouri, and Florida, and Washington and California, etc., the UK, who else is listening? Sweden, Indonesia, shalom in Indonesia, Ireland, shalom to our listeners in Ireland, Sweden, where else? And all over the world here. I can't go through this whole list. All over Israel, of course, Rishon LeZion, Tel Aviv, and Yehud, and all over Israel. It's good to see our Israeli listeners as well. We would love to hear from you. Tell us what you like about the station, what you don't like about the station. If you want more interviews like we're doing today with Yehuda Glick, if not, what other type of interviews or topics that you would like us to cover. I'm sure that you do like this interview, though, with Yehuda Glick. How can you not want to learn about someone who is so dedicated in what he's doing that he's willing to risk his life, literally risk his life, in order to be able to assert Jewish prayer and Jewish rights and Jewish sovereignty over the holiest place in the world, over the Temple Mount. Again, where we had our Nakba, our national tragedy, our catastrophe, and which we still don't have today. Not only do we not have the Holy Temple, but as you can hear from this interview, with another, as we say, Pashut Yid, another simple Jew, our Jewish brother, Yehuda Glick, who is harassed almost daily going up to the Temple Mount trying to pray and trying to do a live Facebook feed from there. It's a situation that needs to be fixed, and hats off to him for him trying to do that. And not sitting home, as he said, in his living room, watching Netflix, because you won't change the world like that. But you will change the world by supporting people like him, by supporting the station here that brings on voices like him and brings you voices on the ground here in Israel and tells you like it is, that there is no Palestinian people. Remember, I just want to remind you all that the Arabs who lived here in Israel, in the land of Israel, it was occupied by so many other countries after the Jews were thrown out. It was occupied by the Babylonians and by the Romans and by the Byzantines and by the Muslims, and you had the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire here the last 400 or 500 years. But there was never a state or country of Palestine. There was never a currency that was a Palestinian-only currency. In fact, there was Hebrew on this British money that was here when the British Mandate was alive and working here. And in fact, there's no P in the Arabic language. That's why they say Palestine. They don't have a P. Palestine was the name given by the Romans to erase the name of Israel. And you don't hear things like this except on places like Israel News Talk Radio. Feel free to write us info@israelnewstalkradio.com. Thank you, everyone, for being with us.
If you love Israel News Talk Radio, then you'll love our Facebook page. We keep you up to date on what's happening in Israel, plus little surprise treasures that we don't share on the radio. Go now to follow us on Facebook. Just look for the Israel News Talk Radio Facebook page, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us by clicking on the like button. We post great stuff there that you'll want to share. Israel News Talk Radio on Facebook and Israel News Radio on Twitter.
If you're hearing this message, everyone else can too. Advertise with Israel News Talk Radio and get your message out to people. We'll build a personalized package for you. Contact advertising at israelnewstalkradio.com.
Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Jake in Anchorage, Alaska, and I love listening to all the super interesting interviews and up-to-date information on what's happening in Israel.
Hello, this is Anna King, originally from London, now living in Israel. And what can I say? Israel News Talk Radio is my cup of tea.
My name is Bhaskar. I'm from India, and I love listening because you get to know the truth and wonderful voices from this lovely country.
Mom! Okay, wait a minute. Hi, this is Chava Dax, and I'm calling from the rolling hills of Ma'ale Adumim, just north of Jerusalem. I always listen to Israel News Talk Radio to get all the latest news and commentary and to keep me up to date every day.
This is Sarah Da from Malay Jamim, and I'm 12. I wish Israel News Talk Radio was boring so my mom wouldn't listen to it all the time. Mom!
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.